Have you noticed your cat obsessively licking their paws until the fur is gone and the skin looks raw? Maybe they're gnawing at their belly at 2 in the morning, leaving wet patches and bald spots that never seem to heal. You've tried everything: new toys, more playtime, even expensive calming sprays, but nothing works. Here's what most cat owners don't realize. This isn't grooming, and it's not boredom. It's your cat's body screaming that something is seriously wrong. And the most heartbreaking part? The 5 hidden triggers I'm about to show you are sitting right under your nose, some literally in your kitchen or litter box, and fixing them costs less than your weekly coffee run. If this helped you understand your cat better, hit subscribe so we can keep building your pet health toolkit together. I post new videos every week. I'm Dr. Mary Joy, your neighborhood veterinarian, and I want you to know something important right now. You are not a bad cat parent. If your cat has been licking their paws obsessively and you didn't realize it was a medical issue, that's not your fault. Cats are incredibly skilled at hiding discomfort, and most owners assume excessive grooming is just a personality quirk. But let me tell you what I see in my clinic every single week. I see cats who have licked their paws so raw that the skin is inflamed and infected. I see bellies with patches of missing fur that look like someone took clippers to them. I see owners who are exhausted, frustrated, and heartbroken because nothing they've tried has worked. And almost every single time, the solution is simpler and cheaper than anyone expects. Let's start with the most common trigger, and I want you to pay close attention because this one affects nearly 1 in 5 cats. The first hidden cause of obsessive paw licking is food allergies. Now, before you think, but my cat eats premium food, let me explain how this actually works. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning their bodies were designed to eat meat and almost nothing else. But most commercial cat foods, even the expensive brands, are loaded with ingredients that trigger immune responses. Chicken, fish, beef, dairy, and grains are the top offenders. When your cat eats a protein their body has become sensitized to, their immune system releases histamine, the same chemical that makes your eyes water during allergy season. In cats, that histamine doesn't just cause sneezing, it causes intense, maddening itchiness that feels like fire ants crawling under their skin. Here's the heartbreaking statistic: food allergies can develop at any age, even if your cat has been eating the same food for years without problems. Their immune system slowly builds a reaction over time, and suddenly, the chicken-based kibble they've eaten since they were a kitten becomes the source of their suffering. The itchiness usually starts at the paws, face, and ears, the areas with the thinnest skin, and your cat's only relief is to lick, chew, and scratch. But here's the vicious cycle. The more they lick, the more they damage the skin barrier, which allows bacteria to move in and create secondary infections. Now your cat is dealing with allergies and infection, and the licking gets even worse. Let me give you a real-world example. A client brought in a cat named Oliver who had licked his front paws completely raw. The pads were bright red, swollen, and oozing. She had tried cone collars, bitter sprays, and anxiety medication, but nothing worked. Oliver would scream and fight the cone until she took it off, and within hours, he was back to licking. I ran an elimination diet trial, and within 3 weeks, Oliver's paws were healing. The trigger? The salmon in his food. She switched him to a limited-ingredient rabbit-based wet food, and a month later, his paws looked completely normal. He stopped licking entirely. His owner cried in my exam room because she had spent 6 months thinking she was failing him. So, what's the correct way to address food allergies? You need to do an elimination diet, and I'm going to walk you through this step by step. First, choose a single novel protein, something your cat has never eaten before. Duck, rabbit, venison, and kangaroo are excellent options. You can find limited-ingredient wet foods with these proteins at most pet stores or online. Brands like Natural Balance, Instinct, and Ziwi Peak make high-quality options. Feed only that single protein for a minimum of 8 weeks. No treats, no table scraps, no flavored medications. If you have multiple cats, you'll need to feed them all the same food during the trial or keep them separated at mealtimes. During those 8 weeks, watch your cat's paws, belly, and face. You should start seeing improvement within 2 to 4 weeks if food is the trigger. The licking will slow down, the redness will fade, and new fur will start growing back. If you see improvement, you've found your answer. If you want to confirm which ingredient was the problem, you can slowly reintroduce old foods, one at a time, but honestly, if the new protein is working, I recommend just sticking with it. Why risk triggering the cycle again? Now, I know what you're thinking. Limited ingredient novel protein foods sound expensive. Here's the budget-friendly trick. You can make homemade elimination diet food using plain cooked protein. Buy ground turkey, rabbit, or duck from your grocery store or butcher. Cook it thoroughly with no seasoning, no salt, no garlic, no onion, nothing. Mix it with a small amount of plain canned pumpkin for fiber. Feed that exclusively for 8 weeks. It's cheaper than most prescription diets, and you have complete control over every ingredient. Just make sure you're not feeding this long-term without balancing it with a vitamin supplement, because plain meat alone doesn't provide complete nutrition for months on end. But for an 8-week trial, it works beautifully. Here's your vet warning, and please listen carefully. Never give your cat human antihistamines like Benadryl without consulting your veterinarian first. The dosing for cats is extremely precise, and giving too much can cause sedation, vomiting, or even toxicity. I've had owners accidentally overdose their cats trying to relieve itching, and it turned a manageable problem into an emergency. If you want to try antihistamines, call your vet and get the exact dose for your cat's weight. Some cats respond well to them, but they are not a substitute for identifying and removing the allergen. And one more thing I need you to hear. Don't feel guilty if you've been feeding your cat a food that's been making them itch. You didn't know. The pet food industry markets chicken and fish as premium ingredients, and most cats do fine with them. But for the unlucky ones who develop sensitivities, those ingredients become poison. You're doing the right thing by learning this now and taking action. That's what makes you a good cat parent. But food allergies aren't the only culprit, and this is where things get really interesting. Let me show you the second hidden trigger that most cat owners completely overlook: environmental allergens. Just like humans can be allergic to pollen, dust, and mold, cats can develop something called atopic dermatitis. This is an allergic reaction to things floating in the air or sitting on surfaces in your home. Dust mites, pollen from outdoor plants, mold spores, the fragrances in your laundry detergent, the chemicals in your floor cleaner, and even the dust from your cat's litter box can all trigger an immune response that makes your cat's skin burn and itch. Here's how it works. When environmental allergens land on your cat's skin or get inhaled, their immune system overreacts and releases inflammatory chemicals. Unlike food allergies, which usually cause itching around the face and paws, environmental allergies often show up as belly licking, flank licking, and excessive grooming of the legs. You might also notice your cat's symptoms get worse during certain seasons. If your cat licks more in the spring when pollen counts are high, or in the winter when your house is closed up and dust accumulates, that's a major clue that environment is the trigger. Let me tell you about Luna, a beautiful gray tabby who came into my clinic with a completely bald belly. Her owner was convinced it was anxiety because Luna had always been a nervous cat. But when I took a closer history, the owner mentioned that Luna's licking had started right after they switched to a new clumping clay litter. I recommended switching to a dust-free natural litter, and within 10 days, Luna's licking decreased by half. Within a month, her belly fur was growing back. The problem wasn't anxiety, it was the cloud of silica dust she was breathing in and walking through every time she used the litter box. That dust was coating her paws, and when she groomed herself, she was spreading it all over her body. So, what's the correct way to address environmental allergens? Start with the litter box. because that's the biggest offender in most homes. Switch to a dust-free litter immediately. I recommend brands like Dr. Elsey's Respiratory Relief, World's Best Cat Litter, or any natural corn, wheat, or paper-based litter. Avoid clay litters, especially the scoopable kind, because they create massive amounts of dust every time your cat digs. Place the litter box in a well-ventilated area, not in a closed closet or bathroom where dust and ammonia fumes build up. Next, look at your cleaning products. If you're using heavily scented floor cleaners, air fresheners, or fabric sprays, stop immediately. Cats have incredibly sensitive respiratory systems, and those chemicals don't just irritate their lungs. They also settle on surfaces where your cat walks, then get transferred to their paws and fur. Switch to unscented or naturally scented cleaners. Plain white vinegar and water works beautifully for most floor cleaning, and it's safe for cats. If you use a robotic vacuum, make sure it has a HEPA filter to trap allergens instead of blowing them back into the air. Here's a game changer that many of my clients swear by. Rinse your cat's paws after they've been outside or after they use the litter box. I know that sounds intense, but hear me out. Get a shallow bowl of plain warm water and gently dip each paw for just a few seconds, then pat dry with a soft towel. You're removing the allergens before your cat has a chance to lick them off. Some cats tolerate this surprisingly well, especially if you start slowly and pair it with treats. You don't have to do this every single time, but even once a day can make a dramatic difference. If your cat's symptoms are severe, invest in a HEPA air purifier for the room where your cat spends most of their time. These devices pull allergens out of the air and can significantly reduce your cat's exposure to pollen, dust, and mold. You can find affordable units online for around $50 to $80, and they're worth every penny if your cat is suffering. Now here's your vet warning for this section, and I cannot stress this enough. Never use essential oil diffusers, scented candles, or plug-in air fresheners around your cats. Essential oils like tea tree, eucalyptus, peppermint, and lavender are toxic to cats because their livers cannot metabolize certain compounds. Even passive exposure through a diffuser can cause liver damage, respiratory distress, and neurological symptoms. I've treated cats who developed tremors and drooling simply from living in a home with a lavender diffuser running constantly. If you love aromatherapy, please keep it far away from your cat or skip it entirely. Let's talk about the third hidden trigger: psychological stress and anxiety. This one surprises people because they assume stress only causes behavioral problems like hiding or aggression. But in cats, chronic stress often manifests as obsessive grooming. When a cat feels anxious or overwhelmed, they groom themselves compulsively as a self-soothing behavior, just like a human might bite their nails or pick at their skin. The act of grooming releases endorphins, which temporarily calm the nervous system. But when the stress never goes away, the grooming becomes a compulsion that damages the skin and creates bald patches. What causes stress in cats? More than you'd think. A new pet in the home, a new baby, a move to a new house, construction noise, a change in your work schedule. Even rearranging the furniture can trigger anxiety in sensitive cats. Cats are creatures of strict routine and territorial control. When their environment feels unpredictable or threatened, their stress hormones spike, and grooming becomes their coping mechanism. The solution here is multifaceted. First, use a Feliway diffuser in the rooms where your cat spends the most time. Feliway releases synthetic pheromones that mimic the calming facial pheromones cats produce when they feel safe. There are two types: Feliway Classic for single cat homes and Feliway Multicat if you have more than one cat. You can buy them on Chewy, Amazon, or at most pet stores. Plug them in and let them run continuously for at least 30 days. Second, increase your cat's environmental enrichment. Add vertical space like cat trees or wall-mounted shelves so your cat can climb and survey their territory from above. Provide puzzle feeders that make them work for their food. Rotate toys every few days to keep things interesting. Schedule at least 15 minutes of active play every day using a wand toy. Physical and mental stimulation reduces anxiety significantly.